Born in a small village in India to a successful engineer father, right from the beginning, Amit was poised to achieve the highest ideal for his family. At the young age of 8, Amit's family relocated to an even smaller town of Kiddermat in northern BC. As one of the only Indian boys in his school, Amit faced an enormous challenge fitting into his new surroundings. He moved to Vancouver as a young man, where he studied at the University of British Columbia and became an environmental health inspector. Not fully satisfied with the direction his career was taking, he quit his job one day and booked a one-way ticket to India, where he traveled for 6 months looking for something he did not yet know. On his return to Canada, Amit joined the corporate world of finance and started to see relative success, but he never felt he was achieving what he knew in his heart he was capable of. As the years passed, he felt an inkling of something missing. Not knowing the answers, he decided to ask the right questions and hired a business coach to bring him to the top of his game. But to his surprise, Amit discovered that he was a square peg trying to fit himself in a round hole. This was the start of a new beginning in his life. Today, standing at the frontier of his own self-discovery, Amit has embraced the creative in him in a way that brings him the greatest joy and fulfillment. From a corporate financier, Amit has made the leap to become a successful photographer and videographer, proving to the world, and more importantly himself, that any dream can come true if you pursue it determined enough. Amit is an inspiration to all entrepreneurs, as he has defied his own internal fears and turned them into success through the pursuit of what makes him truly happy. Welcome to another episode of Voice of the Entrepreneur. Today we have yet again another special guest with us here. We got Amit Garg. He is a photographer who came from the corporate world and decided that he wanted to no more do that and pursue his real passion, which was photography and videography. So I'm really glad to have him here with us and talk to us about his journey. So without further ado, let's get into it. Amit, thank you so much for sitting down here with me and having this wonderful conversation that we're going to have. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing excellent, and thank you for having me here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. Amit, would you can you tell us a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, and what makes you, the entrepreneur that you are?
Well, that's a great question. I'm basically a creative person, and that's something I've discovered over the years throughout my career. I was never working in the creative side before. I was primarily in corporate sales and banking, investments, and that sort of line. However, over the years, I've discovered that my true self is really related to creativity, and that's where I really excel. And so right now, I am working as a professional photographer, a videographer, and I really enjoy photographing all kinds of different events, people, landscapes. So we help companies, we can do for families, right. And also have got involved in cinematography, which is a strong passion as well. So, and creating short films as well.
Oh, that's awesome. There's so many variety of different things that you can do with photography and videography, and it's awesome that you're kind of dabbling in all of this. It's really good to see. You talked about you being a creative individual, and I know a lot of people watching this are also creative individuals that sometimes feel a little stuck in what they're currently doing, especially in the corporate world. I mean, I've personally have had that experience. So how did you figure that out? How did you understand that you were a creative, and not only figure it out, but accept that you were? What did that journey look like?
Well, that's a great question. What I found was that, in society, there's a lot of pressure on the individuals to earn an income. And the corporate world is a great place to make money if you're doing sales or working in different high-level positions.
I think that's why people get into it, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I was one of those people, and that's what I assumed, or that's what I felt, that the society or your family or your friend, whoever, your close circle, would expect you to be that way. And so the impression that I created for myself was the suit, wearing tie, sharp, shiny shoes, the corporate look. And I did that for many, many years. And what I found was that I wasn't very successful. I portrayed that image. However, my results at work were never congruent with the way I looked.
Sure. Right.
So so what I realized over the years was, well, over the years, I knew that I had a creative side, but I had kind of put it to the side, exactly, because I had to make money, and how the hell do you make money taking pictures or doing that kind of stuff? That was more of a fun thing.
Yes. Right.
So what I realized over time was that this is not working. I'm not really that happy. I'm doing something. I keep trying to do something. It's not really working. It's paying the bills, yes, but I'm not quite reaching that level where I should be. So that led me to ask for answers, search for answers, and I asked the question. And in fact, I reached out to a local lady who's a personal business coach, and I posed that question to her, and I said, what is it about me that's stopping me from reaching this level in my corporate world?
In your current
job, in the job, exactly. And this person was very intuitive, and she's been able to help a lot of people in the past. She could see me. She could sense the kind of personality type I was, and we connected, and I hired her on as somebody to consult on a weekly basis.
Okay.
And through that process, it was a very eye-opening experience, because that was a period of self-discovery for me. And what I realized was that I am not this corporate suit-wearing, tie-yielding guy.
So that moment must have been, I mean, you kind of already, because I think a lot of people feel it inside, but they're just not ready to accept it. So it's really inspiring, Amit, that you were able to go out there and ask the question. And not only ask the question, but then go out there and get the help. There is a stigma around getting the help, right? And I know you've experienced that before. So how did you get over that stigma, and how did you actually make that call and say, I need this help?
Yes, this is the critical point, that you need to get help. When you're stuck in a situation and things are not changing and you're not happy, you have two choices. Either you continue to go through that cycle and nothing's going to change, or you ask the questions and find somebody to help you. And the way I told myself was, this person that I hire is not really about counseling, or I have a psychological counseling I need. That's what people have a stigma attached to that.
Exactly.
Oh, I need to get help. So the ego comes in, so I don't need help. But I looked at it as a way, as coaching. I looked at it as a way. I'm a tennis player. I looked at it as a way. Have Roger Federer or Rafael Nadal or whoever. They're at the top of the game, but they still have coaches.
Absolutely.
They still need somebody to tell them what to do, or show them the way, or improve things in certain ways. And so that's the way I view it, and that's the way you should view it as well. Because if you find the right person, that can help you transform your life.
Absolutely, because I think there is the stigma, and there is also the thought that I don't need help, that I can do this on my own, especially in the corporate world. And people with higher education, they believe that this is the world that they live in and they can do everything on their own. But it's very inspiring to see people actually reaching out to others and getting the help that they need. And I'm so, I feel great about the fact that you did it. And I've talked to other entrepreneurs, they all say the same thing. So for me, the question comes out, and the one thing that I'd want to know is, what's the next step after you ask the questions? Because asking a question, getting the answer is a great first step, but it is actually the taking steps that matters, right? So how did that happen for you? How did you decide that, okay, I've asked the question, now I got to take steps?
Well, that after the coaching experience that I had, I will say that my performance, my sales, literally doubled. Just as a result of that, just by making minor tweaks, just by realizing what my strengths were, my weaknesses were, just by being self-aware of what's happening. And so I actually started making a lot more money. I'm literally doubled. I'm paying somebody for these coaching sessions, and I'm thinking, oh, that's a lot of money. But the end result was tremendous.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, sorry, I cut you off,
Yeah.
but people believe that they have to invest in themselves, but they're afraid to invest because they don't know what the results are going to be, right?
And that's a critical decision you have to make. It's a risk you take, yes, but the payoff can be very good. Now, having said that, my sales and my performance and all that improved dramatically, I still wasn't happy. Okay, because I was still in an environment that I wasn't enjoying. That wasn't me. So what they say about money doesn't necessarily make you happy was very true. I was making a lot of money, but I still wasn't happy.
Yeah, so you got to where you thought you wanted to get, but when you got there, you're like, this is not real happiness. I'm not feeling. So then how did you decide that, or when did you find that this is not really what I want? I really need to do something different. When did that happen?
Well, I had been doing photography on the side in addition to my corporate work, and I had been helping, assisting other professionals who were doing it full time, and that's what I really enjoyed. I could work in my corporate work for 10 hours. And come home. I pack my bags and be gone for another 5 hours, and in that 5 hours, I would have more energy
And in the last 10 hours.
in the previous 10 hours. Nothing would tire me out. Unlimited energy. And this would happen repeatedly over and over and over. And I thought to myself, where does all this energy come from? Like, most people, they do 10 hours of work and they're exhausted. At the end of the day, they're done. Right? And I am, packed my bags, I'm ready for another 5 hours and 100% energy. So I realized that what if I could do this full time? It doesn't really feel like work. It's something I love doing so much, and it's so enjoyable, and I'm very good at it, and it makes me feel good to produce good quality work. And what if I could do it full time? I kept asking that,
and the answer was yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, the creatives, they are afraid that their talent or what they have to offer this world will not make them money. And that's why a lot of them, hold back and don't pursue it because they're afraid they're not going to make the living and they're not going to reach the standards of what society tells them. But your point of loving your craft is absolutely important, because if you do love your craft, then you're going to be good at it, and then you're going to produce the value. Then somebody will be able to pay you for it, right?
Yes, and that's another important step, because sometimes as creatives, you feel that. The work you're doing sometimes is more of a creative, artistic for yourself, and you're afraid to ask for money or afraid to put a value. You don't know how to put a value to that time and effort you're putting in. And what I found was that over time, I just built confidence in myself and my abilities and the kind of work that I output. And I'm at a point now where I know what I'm worth. I know my value as a photographer, as a cinematographer. I know where my skills stand. I know where my strengths and weaknesses are. And I have total confidence in putting together a package for a client and say, this is how much it's going to cost.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's such an important point, because as you were saying that, I was thinking people that want to make a living out of this don't really have the confidence to say this is what it's going to cost you, client A, to get me on the team. How does one make that transition where they're confident enough to charge what they're worth, and how to put a dollar value on your time? How did you come up with your values?
Yes. I think firstly, you have to know what the market, you have to kind of understand what the market bears in terms of specific types of jobs that you're doing, and then find out what are other people charging, other professionals perhaps. And so it's like selling any product or marketing any product. You have to do some market research and know what the market rates are for certain things. So once you know that, then you have a baseline or a starting point. And if you're starting out in the business and you're competing with the big fish or some people that are established, you may want to use that starting point and maybe charge a little bit less initially, just to say, and you can be upfront with the clients and say, look, I recently got into this business, and so I'll do it for less money. It doesn't mean the quality of work is going to be any less, but I'm willing to do it for a little bit less than maybe what the bigger companies are charging. I'll provide you with better quality service, more one-on-one interaction, and I will deliver more than I promise. And so you have to earn people's trust initially.
And being authentic about it, like you said. Telling the client that, hey, I am new to this, but that does not mean that I'm not gonna. I'm new, but I'll put more time to give you a better service. And I think people do get attracted to that, and they respond to that. Totally. I see that, Amit. And the other big question about being an entrepreneur, being in business for the work that you do, is perseverance. You have to persevere and then put in the time, put in the grind every single day to make sure that you get to a place. I know you mentioned when we were talking before that you go and knock on people's doors literally to get business. And that, to me, that's absolutely inspiring if you can go out there and do that. What keeps you, I guess, two questions. How do you stay motivated, and how do you persevere? And where do you get the energy to keep persevering?
Well, the energy comes because I'm just so excited to let people know what I'm doing, what I do, because I have so much to offer, so much creativity, so much cool stuff that we can create for clients, for individuals, and I'll take my camera bag and literally have a camera in one hand, and I'm not wearing a suit and tie anymore, which is great. I'm wearing my regular clothes, and I just walk downtown into an office. I'll pick a building and just start from the first floor and go up to the top and just introduce myself to the people and just say, hey, this is who I am. Does your company require these type of services ever? And then say, can I talk to the owner of your business here, just to introduce myself? And I have so much energy and passion. And because, people, actually, what I find are people are very nice, even though you're cold calling on them. And secondly, a lot of people are interested to know exactly what you do. So we actually get invited into a lot of boardrooms right from the cold call. And they say, yeah, we were planning to do this kind of shoot, or we're planning to do some kind of promotional video for a company, or we need to shoot, our mine, the properties here, this and that. So all kinds of stuff pops up. And what I will say is that I have to be thankful that I can do this because of my past experience working in the corporate sales environment. Even though I was never good in that environment, the fact that I can do that with a comfort level to go out and call cold.
Absolutely.
Yeah, most creative people maybe will not do that. But it's thanks to my past experience that I'm able to do that. And I'm utilizing that to my advantage now. Maybe it was all meant to be.
Maybe
that
absolutely
transition.
For sure. It's amazing how the skills you've gained in the past, it's not a loss of time.
No.
You gain those skills so that you can apply them later in life. Incredible story. Amit, when you go out there and approach people, when you make cold calls and you go out there, there's obviously going to be rejection.
Yes.
How do you deal with rejection? Because a lot of people stop cold from making cold calls because they're afraid of the rejection.
Yes. I mean, that's a very good point. As nobody likes to be rejected, and some of us are more sensitive than others to rejection. And I tend to be a sensitive type. In the corporate world, maybe that was one of the reasons that I wasn't, because you have to be pretty aggressive all the time and in that way. However, I've come to a point where I'm comfortable in my own skin, where I have the confidence, and I have experienced, rejection per se, through the marketing or sales over the years, that I know to expect it. So when the expectation is there and you don't take it personally, that you just kind of brush it off and just thank people and move on.
Right, as if it was just part of the game.
Yes, absolutely. And most people are very nice. Nobody will, be nasty to you or say mean things or whatever, Because if you have a smile on your face and you truly love what you do and you provide them, and be nice to them, respect their time, right? And yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
They might give you a no, but
it's perfectly okay.
It's perfectly okay, right? And
because not everybody's going to need your service.
Absolutely. And you don't have to take that as a rejection, a personal rejection of who you are as an individual. It's just your service is not required here.
Exactly.
And that's just, part of business, right? And I guess what you're saying, what I understand is to overcome rejection, you have to go through rejection.
Yes, and you have to expect it.
And you have to accept.
The expectation has to be there.
Totally. I totally see that. I think in my own life, like rejection, it was one thing that really took me away from the things that I wanted to do, like really loved doing. But like you said, having the expectation that you will get rejected and that's just part of the game makes things so much easier when you can just accept it.
Yes.
Absolutely. Amit, great, insights about stuff. I think the golden nuggets of information you're giving to the viewers about how they can approach their career if they are a photographer or business in general, these things are applicable everywhere. So I want to ask you, as an entrepreneur, what's the hardest thing for you setting up your business and reaching the point that you are today? What would you say was, the hardest thing and the highlight of your time?
I think the hardest thing, one of the hardest things was obviously to make that clean cut from the corporate world, because we get comfortable in the corporate world. We have our benefits, we have our pension plans, we have our the ongoing salaries, and everything is the wheel is turning.
The safety
it's the safety net, and the family is you're the main breadwinner in the family, and then the family expects certain things to happen in terms of income wise. So to break that, to cut that all off, it's a pretty scary thing. And I did go through some tough times around that, but I got to a point where I had enough. And you really have to become selfish, because it's about your life, about your happiness, about what you want to do. And I know it sounds kind of odd, but you really have to become, it's got to be about you. And what I find is that initially the family or the friend circle, they'll be kind of shocked, or they'll be like, oh, how could you make a living doing this? This is crazy. Leaving a $100,000 job for taking photographs, and so everybody tries to tell you stuff. And so you have to be strong. You have to stand up for yourself and say, hey, I understand what I'm doing. It's a risk, yes, but we'll get through it.
Oh, absolutely. I can totally see how that would have been one of the greatest challenges of making that leap, right? You got to jump, and you got to jump. Sometimes you have to cut some cords from the back and then just jump and get there. I guess the last question I want to ask you, and this is, for my audience, like I really want them to benefit from your experience and how you've been able to get the success that you want. What advice would you have for someone that is, a few years behind you and is looking at you and saying, Amit did this and I'm inspired by this and I want to do the same thing? What would you tell them to go out there? Like, what would you tell them to do?
Well, one of the things you can do is don't cut off your job right away. Continue to work. Try to improve in your current situation that you're working in. However, keep your dream alive. Okay, so do your creative thing on the side. Do it after work, on the weekends, and build your skills. Develop your skills in that area. Try to do as much of it as you can in your off time, and start building a portfolio. If there's photographs or videos or doing painting or art or whatever it is, build a portfolio for yourself. Nowadays, we have the benefit of all the internet, so you have social media. Use social media to your advantage. Start promoting yourself and what it is that you do, what are your strengths. So these are some of the important things you can do to start off. And what you'll find is over time, you'll build more and more confidence. And there will come a point in your life where you will cut that part of your life that you do not want to do and then jump right into your creative world. And it is the absolute greatest feeling you will ever have.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Amit, my friend. Much respect for you for all the work that you do. Thank you for coming out here and talking to me.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much
it.
for having me.
Thank you. Guys, yet another beautiful, wonderful interview with someone who is really passionate about what they do and love what they're doing. And one of the points that Amit made that I want to talk about is you have to become selfish at one point and say, I want to do this for myself. You know, it's no more about the family. It's no more about, you know, the people around you. It's about yourself. And when you come to that point, that's when you have to take the courageous step and move in the direction of what you really love. So I hope you got the value from this interview. I know I did. It was great sitting here talking about all this. And until I see you again next time, have a great one, my friend.